the GOP presidential field has reached double digits. There's Donald Trump, twice impeached, once indicted so far, plus the 9 Republicans trying to take him on. The latest to join is North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Doug who? Exactly. So let's focus on the other 2 who joined the race this week.
It was a mistake in 2016 not to confront Donald Trump early, because I knew that so much of what he said was complete baloney. Let me be very clear. I am going out there to take out Donald Trump, but here's why. I want to win. And I don't want him to win.
I'm incredibly proud of everything we accomplished for the American people. Might be fair to ask why I'm challenging my former running mate. Let me say from my heart, it begins with a promise that I made to the American people and to Almighty God. Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be President of the United States.
That was a more forceful repudiation of Trump than we've heard from either men before. Certainly more forceful than anyone else in the GOP field. Mike Pence said January the 6th disqualifies Trump from being president. Wow. If only Pence hadn't gone on Fox moments after his kickoff speech and said he would vote for whoever the Republican nominee ended up being, even if it was Donald Trump. So not that disqualifying. But that 2-step tells you everything you need to know. Unlike others in the primary field, Mike Pence and Chris Christie are running against a former president, with Christie attacking him by name. But these 2 men might be more responsible than anyone else for helping Donald Trump become president in the first place. Yeah, let me say that again. Pence and Christie, perhaps more than anyone else, helped Trump become president in the first place. They're responsible for him. Because at 2 of the most important and consequential moments in the 2016 presidential campaign, they found themselves at a crossroads with pivotal decisions to make. And those decisions showed us who they are. See, after ending his own 2016 presidential bid early in the primaries, Chris Christie shocked a lot of people when he became the first so-called establishment Republican to endorse Donald Trump. The endorsement happened right before Super Tuesday, where Trump would go on to carry 7 of the 11 primaries. And the internet was given the gift of this video, Christie standing next to Trump, perhaps hoping someone would come and rescue him. Christie's endorsement was a key moment in Trump's march towards the nomination and his normalization on the right. But it was Mike Pence who would come to save Trump at the lowest point of his 2016 presidential campaign.
Newly leaked and extremely lewd conversation involving Donald Trump. It's so explosive, Trump already is apologizing.
NBC News has just become aware of a video capturing Donald Trump making vulgar comments about women.
Donald Trump at Access Hollywood's Billy Bush talking about sexual advances towards women.
The Access Hollywood video came out on a Friday in October 2016, just weeks before Election Day. The fallout was immediate, with high-profile Republicans calling Trump out, and then GOP House Speaker Paul Ryan even disinviting Trump from a Wisconsin campaign rally. The situation was so bad that Trump did something extreme. He apologized, though not without attacking the Clintons at the same time. There was even talk of Trump leaving the race. John Thune, a top Senate Republican, called for Trump to step aside and Pence to become nominee. But aside from a brief statement condemning the remarks, Pence himself was basically MIA. As journalist Tim Alberta wrote in his book, American Carnage, Pence had gone back to Indiana and bunkered down, cutting himself off from the outside world, praying with his wife about what to do next, and telling his advisors that he wasn't sure he could continue with the campaign. Imagine for a moment that Pence had broken with Trump, that the man who calls himself a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order had broken with the person who bragged about grabbing women. It might have ended Trump's campaign right then and there. But by Monday, 3 days after the tape came out, he was back on the campaign trail, and he would even go on to defend Trump from other accusations of sexual misconduct.
Donald Trump has asserted that all of these recent unsubstantiated allegations are categorically false, and I do believe it. There's more information that's going to be coming out that'll back his claim that this is all categorically false.
Whatever Pence and Chris Christie say now, whatever anti-Trump lanes they think they might have in a 2024 primary, in terms of winning the nomination, sadly, those lanes don't exist. And these 2 men have no right to pitch themselves as anti-Trump. Chris Christie, of course, did much more for Trump than just endorsing him at a key moment. He helped Trump prepare for his debates against Hillary Clinton, briefly ran Trump's presidential transition, led a Trump White House task force on the opioid crisis, and then helped Trump with 2020 debate prep against Joe Biden. He wants us to forget all that so that he can be the anti-Trump candidate? Does he think that he can give a speech or two attacking Trump and make us forget all the fawning praise he's heaped on Trump off and on for years? Well, we remember. There's a real contrast.
Donald Trump made us smaller by dividing us even further and pitting one group against another.
The line of supporting Donald Trump starts behind me. I was the first elected official in America to endorse him in 2016, prepped him for those debates, prepped him in 2020 for the debates.
It ain't funny anymore. It's not amusing anymore. It's not entertaining anymore. It is the last throes of a bitter, angry man who wants power back for himself, not for you.
I'm here tonight not only as the governor of New Jersey, but also as Donald Trump's friend for the last 14 years.
Like Voldemort. He is he who shall not be named.
Not only a strong leader, but by a caring, genuine, and decent person.
A lonely, self-consumed, self-serving mirror hog is not a leader.
How do you grade Trump as president?
Oh, listen, overall, I give the president an A.
Oh, and Christie gave Trump that A grade in April of 2021, just months after January the 6th, that pesky day that Christie himself had said Trump should be impeached for. Yeah, just put that aside and give Trump an A. Christie must have put a lot aside to arrive at that grade. He must have also put aside the fact that he got a very serious case of COVID after spending days unmasked around Trump in the fall of 2020 for the debate prep. And he was at the White House announcement of Amy Coney Barrett as Trump's Supreme Court pick, an event that Dr. Fauci would later call a super spreader. Christie became so sick that he had to be admitted to the ICU for 7 full days. He later described the situation as touch and go and began preparing for the possibility of going on a ventilator. I was lying on my back in the hospital bed talking to my wife about our children and the prospect of never speaking to them again, Christie recalled in his memoir. Left unsaid, hanging in the air between us, was that I might never see or speak to my wife again. And Christie said he knows exactly who put him at death's door.
You had always suspected that you got it from the president. Is that right?
Well, the only reason I suspected it was because he was the only person who I didn't know his testing regimen. I was in close contact with. All the other people, we spoke about the fact that.
So did this confirm for you that you did, in fact, get it for the president?
Oh, I think it's undeniable.
Undeniable. Chris Christie knew it. You know someone else who seemed to know it? Donald Trump.
After asking how I was feeling and going through that and a couple of things about, how did tough guys like us get this and all that, he then he said, how do you think you got it? He said to me, you're not going to blame me, are you?
But still, A-grade work, Mr. President. Say what you will about Chris Christie's transformation from tell-it-like-it-is governor to presidential pet. His words from back then are still no match for the fawning praise of Mike Pence. If that 2016 hostage video is the thing that says it all about Chris Christie, the Pence version of that might be the 2018 dance of the water bottles. Look at the coordination, the synchronicity. The judges give it a 10. And boy, could Pence go on and on about his boss.
That's why I joined this campaign in a heartbeat. You have nominated a man for president who never quits, who never backs down, a fighter, a winner. It's the greatest privilege of my life to be vice president to a leader of such conviction, vision, and courage.
I want to thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for speaking on behalf of and fighting every day for the forgotten men and women of America.
He's a man of his word. He's a man of action.
President Donald Trump has launched a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life.
I'm very proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. Several of you told me when I arrived here tonight that how much better it was during the Trump-Pence years, and it simply was because we took those live free or die principles and we put them into practice. January 6th was a dark day. President Trump and I have spoken many times since we left office. And I don't know if we'll ever see eye to eye on that day. But I will always be proud of what we accomplished for the American people over the last 4 years.
never see eye to eye about January the 6th. That's quite a way to talk about the day where an armed mob, egged on by Donald Trump, had people chanting about killing you, where you yourself say Trump endangered your life. But no, just a disagreement, a matter of not seeing eye to eye. To be clear, both Mike Pence and Chris Christie believe that Trump almost got them killed, and yet they carried on praising him. To be clear, Pence and Christie are not election deniers, and that is a good thing. And at least Christie is now attacking Trump by name. At least Pence is now saying the insurrection should disqualify Trump. But there is still some weird hesitation when it comes to them talking about the legal issues that could and should derail a Trump campaign. I mean, why on earth would anyone run against Trump and not remind voters every day that Trump could be indicted by a federal grand jury and by a grand jury in Georgia any day now? And that he's already been indicted by one in New York. Oh, and that he's already been found liable in a civil court for sexual abuse. Chris Christie is literally a former U.S. attorney who has never been shy about playing up that background on the campaign trail.
Tonight, as a former federal prosecutor, I welcome the opportunity to hold Hillary Rodham Clinton accountable for her performance and her character. As to Hillary Clinton, the charge of putting herself ahead of America, guilty or not guilty? Hillary Clinton lying to the American people about her selfish, awful judgment in making our secrets vulnerable. What's your verdict? Guilty or not guilty?
And yet at his town hall on Tuesday night, Christie didn't do any version of that for Trump. No mention of possible indictments or a forthcoming trial in New York. Now, Christie has, at least in the past, attacked Trump's response to the news that a jury found him liable of sexual abuse and defamation in the E. Jean Carroll case. But Pence wouldn't even do that.
It's just one more story focusing on my former running mate that I know is a great fascination to members of the national media, but I just don't think it's where the American people are focused.
And on Wednesday, Trump's former VP even warned the Justice Department against indicting Trump in the Mar-a-Lago documents case.
We're the symbol of justice in the world, and the serious matter, which has already happened once in New York, of indicting a former president of the United States sends a terrible message to the world. I hope the DOJ thinks better of it.
What a cop-out. But that's Mike Pence, master of the cop-out, and Chris Christie, master of the U-turn, neither of whom will be the GOP nominee next year, both of whom helped Trump win and keep the GOP nomination in 2016, and both of whom are now helping Trump win again, simply with their presence in this increasingly crowded GOP presidential primary, because there are just too many of them, too many candidates to provide a clear alternative to Trump. Politico's Jack Schaefer called it the return of the Republican clown car. And Jonathan Martin, also of Politico, wrote last month, if Trump does emerge as the GOP standard bearer next year, we will look back on this week to grasp why, just like in 2016, he was able to take advantage of a divided opposition. A divided opposition. Also a cowardly opposition and a weak opposition. Look, you can't be an anti-Trump candidate if you're not willing to be totally, consistently, relentlessly anti-Trump. But worse than that, you're actually a de facto pro-Trump candidate if you know you can't win, but you're running in this race anyways. Joining me now, Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist, MSNBC political analyst, and Tara Setmeyer, former Republican communications director on Capitol Hill, now senior advisor to the anti-Trump Lincoln Project. Thank you both for coming back on the show. Tara, on the one hand, Chris Christie is currently polling at 1% behind Liz Cheney, who isn't even running, and his chances of winning the nomination are virtually non-existent. On the other hand, I did thoroughly enjoy watching him bash Trump when he announced his run on Tuesday. Is there a role for him on the debate stage in this election campaign, despite his polling, just to take a few swings at Trump when no one else will?
You know, watching your opening segment and reliving all of that rank hypocrisy from Chris Christie and Mike Pence is just so infuriating to watch.
Yep.
I cannot believe that we are back here. I'm thank you for doing that, because people need to be reminded of the absolute hypocrisy and the unserious nature of Chris Christie and Mike Pence. You know, there is no lane for either one of them. Running for the nomination now at this point is a fool's errand for both of them. Mike Pence, for goodness sakes, is losing to Donald Trump in the Republican primary with evangelicals who are supposedly his constituency. He's losing 59% to 6% right now, according to Fox News at the end of last month. He has no path whatsoever.
So you don't think at least having Christie on a debate stage will do any damage to Trump because of his hypocrisy, and Trump can just dismiss him as a former ally?
No, because Chris Christie will come in as simply someone who will add to the entertainment aspect of this. Yes, it'll be interesting and entertaining to watch Chris Christie throw haymakers at Donald Trump and try to use his personality as being a bully and being a Jersey guy. But he is polling less than 1%. He's another one. He's simply there to just be there as an entertainment aspect of it, not as a serious person competing for the nomination at this point, because he's reviled by the Trump people, and the anti-Trump people, the never Trump folks, they don't trust him either because of his decision to become someone who's just used political ambition, using that as opposed to being an honest person and just using this as a way to push his own agenda.
I mean, if throwing punches on a debate stage hurt Trump, then Chris Christie would have won in 2016. So I'm not sure how it's going to work differently in 24, especially when Trump, I'm sure, will come along with lots of dirt on Christie or stuff that Christie said to him in private, fawning praise. If I'm Trump, I'll just say, Chris, that's not what you were saying to me that time and that time and that time. Anyways, Susan, let's talk Mike Pence. What's his game plan here? What lane is he running in? Because I'm assuming he's not running in the hang Mike Pence lane.
He's running in the I have nothing else better to do, so I might as well run in the presidential primary lane. I think that's really clear because he's not revered by Trump supporters because he's a traitor. He's actually treated as a traitor among the MAGA crowd. And the never Trumpers, they never liked him that much anyway. He's okay. And if he's going to go for the evangelicals, I think Tim Scott has that. But I want to go back to Christie because I take a different point of view than both you and Tara. And I am not making excuses for Chris Christie. I agree with what everyone has said about his behavior 2016 through 2020. I do think that he does know how to get under Trump's skin, especially from the debate prep. But this is where Chris Christie, he will not win the nomination, let me be clear. But he can really defeat Donald Trump and set him up well to be defeated by Joe Biden. Because it's not going to be just on the debate stage that Christie goes after Donald Trump. He's running an earned media campaign. He's going to take everything that gets Trump's a headline, Christie's going to go after it. He's going to pound him like a general election candidate, not a primary candidate. Primary candidates, they usually hold a little back against each other, or the issues, so they can appeal in a general and keep a certain base. Chris Christie is not having any of that. Every single day, he will go after Trump. Now, you can say, why didn't he do it before? That doesn't matter. If I'm Biden, I am thrilled that Chris Christie is out there every day reminding independent and center-right voters why Trump should not be president again. And maybe he gets the nomination, but boy, will he be beat up and defeated in a run in November.
Good point. Tara, do you want to respond to that?
Chris Christie has to last long enough for anyone to pay attention and care. I mean, he can try this attack on Trump every day and go in there as a kamikaze candidate like he did in 2016. But he doesn't need to be a candidate for a president to do what he does. He already has a platform to use that and attack Trump if he wants to, and help Joe Biden to prevent this country from going through the nightmare of Donald Trump again. But that's not what he's in it for. I mean, he's already made his decision that he's another one that can't help himself, but use this as an opportunity to push his own relevance. Because what else is he doing with himself? He's another one. I add him in the same category that Mike Pence is. What else is he going to do? So I think that that's great that he wants to use his platform to go after Trump, but he's doing it in a way that is a vanity candidacy like the rest of them, that adds to all of these people getting into the race, not consolidating behind someone else, that hands the nomination to Trump again. Yes. So I just don't understand why people see him even as a serious candidate in this, other than for the entertainment value of it all, which will certainly be interesting to watch.
The great irony is the one time he could have run and won was 2012 when he didn't actually run. Tara, actually, Susan, let me ask you this question. Why are none of the candidates bringing up Trump's legal troubles? I mean, if you're running in a race anywhere on planet Earth and the front runner has massive legal problems, every other candidate, it's Politics 101, will bring up those legal problems. None of them are. Ron DeSantis keeps saying, I haven't seen anything about that. They're all washing their hands of it. Pence, even now. What's the strategy here? That they let Jack Smith take him off the board and then they can fight amongst themselves and they should stay silent till then? I don't get it.
Well, for the same reason they don't call out Trump on anything else is because they're hoping that Trump falters enough, and I think it's a false hope, but that he falters enough that they'll be there to pick up the pieces so they could have the MAGA base, the Trump base, and other Republicans. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's a poor strategy. But also, there is something to be said to waiting to see what the indictment says. I certainly think you could go after him for the case against E. Jean Carroll, without a doubt. You can. There's other things. Yeah. I happen to have an issue with the Manhattan District Attorney's case, but I don't think that they're going to do it at that time either, with the exception of Chris Christie.
We will have to see. Susan Del Percio, Tara Setmeyer, thank you both. Appreciate it.